Snowballing is caused by the dilute gene, and what we see is a white undercoat that kind of outgrows into the outside of the outer coat. It's something we only see in babies, and it's caused by the dilute gene and carriers of the dilute gene. So this is an extreme example of snowballing in a black kit. This white coloration coming up through the coat, it'll shed out by the time it's an adult. And that's what I hope is going on with this little kit with this white coming in on her side right here. But I won't know until it sheds out or doesn't shed out, so fingers crossed. Because this entire litter does carry the dilute gene in the form of blue because their dad was blue.
To be honest, I don't have a problem with people breeding for their own meat. Be that if they're breeding for pure breeds or breeding them as meat mutts. If you are trying to feed your family and sustain them in this economy, I applaud that. Times are tough. I have quite a few meat breeders that I sell to for outcrosses. And they're good people, and they have no interest in selling their stock. I keep in good contact with them and talk to them about every month or so just to check in on them. Everyone should be a little bit more sustainable, and if they're not interested in the show side of things, that's completely fine. Showing rabbits isn't for everyone, but everyone could potentially raise meat rabbits. Plus, it's the same argument I make within the horse community. If more people are raising those animals for meat, or there's an open supply to make sure that there is a demand for the meat, then the market will do better. I figure if I'm going to open a can of worms today, I might as well really open it. Alright, how do we tell males from females from our young rabbits? So this is a young buck. You're just going to press down and push up, and it's going to come out like a little burrito. This is a young doe. We're going to do the same. Push the tail down, press up, and it's going to come out like a taco. It is new toy day for the birds. Normally we just make our own toys for the parrots, right? But Samantha has discovered that the puzzle toys are made out of rubber and completely destroyed them. So one of the toys we got today was a reusable puzzle ball that you have to unscrew. And for Rick, I got him a metal clanker toy that he hopefully won't destroy as quick as his homemade toys. Out of the box, here is Rick's new toy. Here is Samantha's new toy. When it comes to Rick and new toys, I have to be generally careful about putting them up because he does like to attack fingers as you're hooking it onto his bowl. It is on. What do you think, Ricardo? What you think, Rick? You like it? Yeah, you do. No, you don't? Yeah. Samantha has discovered her new toy, but she's more interested in the clasp and the chain than the actual ball. When it comes to expensive toys, we normally get ones that they can't destroy as quick as the ones that we make from home. Because if they're made out of wood, these two will destroy it in a day. In fact, that is why Samantha is on a rope perch currently, is because she was going through her perches too fast. But at least right now she's entertained. So I'm pretty proud of these chin rexes. And of course the broken chin babies. Because at 7 weeks old, they're about halfway to butcher weight. Which, if y'all know Rexes, sometimes they can be a little slow growing. And the fact that at 7 weeks they're there, in theory, if they keep growing to that correct linear line, they should be ready to butcher at 14 weeks instead of 16 weeks, which is absolutely outstanding, and I'm super proud of them. This is actually the one we're looking at keeping. It's the biggest out of the litter. I also have more of this litter in with Tati, our Californian. Oh, come back, baby.
So super excited about how fast this litter is growing. I'm also looking at keeping maybe this one right here, because I do want to maybe keep 2 chinchilla Rexes, but we'll definitely see what their type looks like and how they do. But they are just adorable. I absolutely love chinchillas.
I don't think I have talked about this topic in a while, and that is my preference for breeding age in rabbits. Generally, the ARBA recommends that small breeds breed between 4 and 6 months, medium breeds between 6 and 8 months, and large giant breeds between 10 to 12 months. And though I could breed my mini breeds as early as 6 months, I prefer to wait till my rabbits are a bit older. The sweet spot that I like to breed around is 8 to 9 months. And that's just because I think they have a better head on them and they have the better capability to be good mothers. And this is kind of through trial and error because I have bred some of my minis at 6 months and some did well, but they didn't do as well, both taking care of the babies and regaining condition, unless I just pushed it off for a little while longer. My other condition when it comes to breeding my does is ensuring that they have at least 90% of their body weight. So if the standard says that a doe should be 10 pounds, for instance, at a senior weight, I would want it to get at least 9 pounds before I would breed it. But I would like to breed a rabbit before a year of age. Now, when it comes to bucks, I've had some success of bucks as early as 3 months. Some take a little longer, up to 6 months, before they kind of get the point on how a doe is to be bred. And if you're interested, we can talk about rebreeding schedule in another video. And I don't know how long it's been since I've talked about weaning, but we can also talk about weaning. Just let me know what you guys want to see. The Do-More cages can only be bought at Tractor Supply, and the reason they're my favorite is because they're collapsible. With that being said, I have a bit of an announcement. I now have an Amazon storefront. So if you're interested in the cages that I use other than the Do-More cages, which are my metal cages that are a little more sturdy, those are linked there. Also linked there are a bunch of supplies that I really like to use and quite a few books that I have read and enjoyed, to include a book called Beyond the Pellet. And as y'all know, I do like feeding pellet. That is my preferred method. But if it's not your preferred method, it is an amazing book on how you can forage for your rabbits if you would want to, along with the basic Rabbit 101 kind of thing. I also have a list of all the parrot items that the birds really like, so that if you have birds or parrots, you can see what we've kind of used and what has survived longer than a day or so. If it doesn't survive longer than a day or so, it didn't go on the list. But if you could please go check it out, I would really appreciate it. And if I missed anything, especially when it comes to the quail or the rabbits, please let me know what you would like to see on there. But I want to thank y'all so much for following me and making this kind of thing possible. I really couldn't do it without you. Hey y'all, you want to see how I make rabbit Alfredo? I know that sounds really weird, but if you don't like rabbit, you can sub it out with chicken. And to be honest, it's delicious. The kids always love it, the baby asks for seconds, and the older child always eats at least 2 or 3 plates of it. So I'm going to take my rabbit out of the freezer, throw it in my Instapot, and slow cook it for 3.5 hours. The only thing I'm going to add into the Instapot is water, some chicken bouillon, and a bunch of spices. And I'm going to let it sit in its own juices for a while. And all this broth right here, I'm going to save for soup later. So be looking for that recipe soon to come. I'm going to pull the rabbit out of the Instapot and just let it cool off enough to where I can shred it. And if you cook your rabbit right, it's just as easy to shred as chicken. This only took me a couple minutes to do after it was cooled. Now, while your rabbit is cooking, at the very end, you're going to take your water and you're going to boil it up. And you're going to throw in whatever kind of noodles you want. I also threw some green beans from the freezer from last year's harvest into a pan with a little butter, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Here you see I am just boiling the noodles. These guys only took about 8 minutes to cook. While everything was cooking, my daughter wanted to munch on the rabbit.
and the youngest wanted to munch on a green bean. While the noodles were straining in the colander, I just threw a pat of butter into the pan and let that melt down before I threw in about a cup of milk. And my spices, I threw in pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and that was it for this time. Then I mixed it all up, and I don't know where the video clip went of me throwing in my Parmesan cheese. Then I threw in my Parmesan cheese. And you just throw that in and let it get all melty together. And the next step, I just threw my rabbit in, and I'm doing it by hand because let me tell you, doing anything with a baby in your arms is just a mess. Just look at how many noodles I spilled here. See, a single noodle right there. I honestly thought I was going to spill more than that. But here's the finished product. I threw a little bit of chipotle salsa on mine. Danny's actually the one who taught me how to make that salsa, but he's like a million times better at it.